Hello, everyone, and welcome to Zest to Zen with me, Shel Marie, the podcast that will take you on a journey from the hustle to the harmony, fueling your passion whilst finding your peace. Today, it's an absolute honor to welcome Coach Bill Ritchie, a certified generational trauma and motivational mindset coach who empowers adults to break free from challenging family dynamics, heal generational trauma, set healthy boundaries, and reclaim the confidence to live life on their own terms. Through his coaching, online courses, and speaking engagements, Coach Bill helps people transform their mindset, embrace their personal power, and create a life aligned with their true purpose. His down-to-earth approach and real-life experience makes him relatable, engaging, and deeply inspiring. In today's episode, we'll explore his approach to emotional freedom, mindset transformation, and practical strategies for reclaiming your life. Yes, yes, yes. Let's do this. Welcome, 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 Coach Bill. How are you?
Well, thank you so much, Shel Marie. I'm doing good. I appreciate the opportunity to be on the show here with you.
You are very welcome. And just thinking back to our first initial conversation, because I feel like sometimes in the storytelling, there often is like a beautiful gem and transformation. And it was a real simple thing. I don't know if you can remember, but I remember you sent through Coach Bill. And I was like,
Yeah,
oh, do you want me to say Bill or do you want me to say Coach Bill? And I
yeah,
won't reveal it all because it's your beautiful story. But
yeah.
would you like to share why you are called Coach Bill?
Yeah, really came about from my coaching my kids when they were younger in hockey. And maybe even before that, I always had friends that would come to me with their issues and problems, but it was never really known as Coach Bill back then. But yeah, so it just kind of evolved from me being a coach. So even after I stopped coaching a lot of the kids, I would get, say, a teenager now or an older boy or girl, because I have twins, so I coach both my kids played hockey.
Wow.
I would have this girl or boy come up to me and say, "Hey, Coach Bill, how you doing?" Right? And I'm like, it takes me a minute to figure out who they were because I remember them when they were little, maybe, right? But yeah, so just kind of stuck from there. So when I was starting to become a life coach, I just thought, hey, it's gotta be Coach Bill. So
I
just
think
kind of
that's
stuck.
lovely, and I think also it's like a term of endearment. And I actually think when we have these beautiful, the younger generation, and I know this from like teaching, and they
Yeah,
turn into these like teenagers, and they're cool,
yeah,
and then for them still to be like Coach Bill, it's really nice,
yeah,
and I think
yeah. Yeah, it was special. It shows I had a little bit of impact in their lives and
absolutely,
their because it
absolutely.
wasn't just hockey for me. I always tried to bring in, life lessons as well during that time. So,
I think that's super important what you're saying, because often, we get the qualification and we put in the day and things like that. But I feel like often most of us that say, we're a coach or, anything to do with personal growth and transformation, it isn't at the beginning of the qualification. It's the just, playing the game, not playing the game, you know what I mean? Getting what it is
yeah,
that you need in order
yeah,
to basically almost be paid for what you've been doing your whole life.
exactly.
um,
Exactly.
so regardless of that, because it's not always about obviously the money, which is, everything's super important anyway, because you should receive
Yep.
what you should receive for what you give. But it's about the transformation. So with that in mind, and I feel like I summarized what you actually sent me in your bio, um, because it's not my story to tell. And I know that sometimes, often, when we pick these particular turning points in our life, they often are, and I feel like the word inspired isn't always the right choice, but they're
Yeah.
They come from something much deeper. And we would all love for it to just be like, oh, that looks good. I would like to do that. But often the diamonds usually have the heart, the big pressure.
Yeah.
And obviously I can't speak on your behalf, but I just know from what you shared with me, thank you so much, that I think you had a lot that maybe led up to the point that you're at now. And obviously, you are more than welcome to share whatever you want to share, or whether you want to go straight into what you're doing now.
Yeah, well, I think it would make sense for me to share my story first, just to give everybody a background of why I'm doing this now. So it's a bit emotional, even talking about it these days can stir up some triggers and everything. So we'll
Yeah.
go way back to when Coach Bill was little Billy, age of 2 years old. That's when my parents, my mother and my father, my birth mother and father, got divorced. So I never remember my mom and dad being together.
Yeah.
I tend to do quotations a lot, so just
No,
wait for
you're
that.
all good. You
Um,
express yourself how you want to express yourself.
yeah. So, and then along came my dad got remarried. So my dad, to go back, sorry, my dad got pretty much full custody. Learned to talk though. Um, and which was a little bit unusual back then, but it's just circumstances. It's not that my mom didn't want me. It was my dad had a high priced lawyer, blah blah blah. So I got custody. I had to go with my dad, and then I saw my mom every third weekend, right? So that was tough. So around the age of 6, my dad met another lady, got married. So that's my stepmother,
Yeah.
and it was pretty shortly after that, earliest memory, 6, 7 maybe, of when she started to physically and emotionally abuse me. And, I just didn't feel safe to go and tell my dad. And I don't truly think my dad would have heard me anyway, because there's issues there with my dad. And when somebody has that kind of hold over you in an abusive situation, especially as a child, you're
Yeah.
scared. Like you're scared to tell anybody, right?
Yeah.
So it wasn't until I was about getting into my teens, getting bigger, where she couldn't, physically abuse me anymore. But the psychological, the emotional
Of
was
course.
definitely still there, right? So yeah, so just dealing through all of that, going back to hockey, being Canadian, hockey's big over here. That was one escape I had. I
Yeah.
played hockey, and she couldn't touch me there or hurt me there, so at least I had that. But I just didn't feel like I had anything else. So jumping ahead a little bit, getting into my late teens, early 20s, my goal was just to get out of my house, get away.
Mm.
But I also started to really party and drink.
Mm.
And maybe that's what a
Suppressed.
lot of us do when we're in our late teens, early 20s anyway. But maybe it wasn't every day, it wasn't an official alcoholic, but I just went to that, right? Like you
Yeah.
said, depression and just, but it's obviously not a healthy thing to do. We're just masking that,
Yeah.
that hurt that we haven't dealt with. So then get into my mid 20s. I was dating, whatever, but then got married into my later 20s. And then my kids came along when I was about 30. But I never dealt with my trauma, with my
Mm.
issues, right?
Mm.
And still went to see my dad and stepmother. Then the kids came along, and then their grandma and grandpa now.
Wow.
I never left them with like overnight, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but ironically, they treated my kids perfectly, like they're just normal grandkids, right? So um, that
Sorry to
was kind
stop
of
you
the
there.
premise up
Yeah.
to that point.
Sorry to stop you there, Coach Bill, but I just want to,
No worries.
first of all, I want to really honor you for really articulating such a difficult time in your life. And I know that a lot of people are going to be really inspired by you using your voice to to speak through and show that, unfortunately we don't invite these things into our lives, but there is
Yeah.
transformation that we can create and positive impact from things that unfortunately have been out of our control. So I first of all really want to celebrate you for that, because I know that you are going to tell your story in the most, not story, journey, life in
Yeah.
the most incredible way. And second
Well,
of
thank
all,
you so much for saying that.
you're so welcome. And second of all, I just actually really want to acknowledge something that you've just said. And obviously, I don't know the circumstances now, but it's
Mhm.
almost like that's a really hard one what you've just expressed, because of course you would never ever want anything like that to ever happen to your own children. But it's almost like
Absolutely.
then it's like, it did, but did it even happen? Like, it's almost even more
Yeah.
like such a like nobody knows. And so I can't even
Yeah.
begin to grasp like how that must have been. That must have been like such, like, so many different emotions, because you of course want to protect your own children, but then like what you say, it's almost like, but how could this person be two completely different versions?
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing that up, because I also had a stepbrother who was my stepmother's son.
Yeah.
And he never got any of that abuse. Not that I wanted him or anybody to
No,
have it,
no.
but why was it just on me, right?
Mm,
And
yeah.
there's a deeper story of why, I think, but maybe we won't touch on that today. But that's everything I questioned
Thank you so
growing up
much.
as well, right? So
Yeah, of course.
yeah,
But that's almost like the trauma from it is like, you know it, you know it, but then you're like,
yeah,
um it's almost like you're questioning yourself, and it's like, no, I am me, I know, but
yeah.
it's like, yeah, phew, I can't even begin
And then
to think about how
yeah,
that.
and with that, sometimes we bury that. Well, not sometimes, a
Yes.
lot of
Yeah.
times I bury that, and it goes like in the back of your brain, and
Mm-hmm.
that's happened, and then it doesn't start to really affect you until you dive deep into it, or you have an aha moment. And
Mm.
you would think by the time I'm in my 30s, 40s, I would have figured this out. I got into my 40s, and then I started having some nightmares. Maybe I had some in
Yeah.
my late 30s too, but so some of these things are coming
Same.
back, right? And it's just
Mm.
like, okay, why is this coming back? And it seemed to come back when I was under some daily stresses as well,
Mm.
right? But I never learned the skills how to heal, how to cope from this.
Yeah.
And we like what you're saying, we do put it into denial. Like we
Mm.
know that happened, but okay, maybe that I always knew that, I guess, as the norm. That was just okay, that happened.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell anybody. When I got into my adulthood, I started to tell my mom, and my mom just, broke her heart,
Yeah, of
right?
course, of course.
Relationship with my mom. So that distance we had as a child, that just grew our bond even deeper. So my mom's a
Mm.
rock. She's amazing, but she lives with a lot of the guilt, but like she didn't know, right? So, even to this day, she's in her
Yeah.
late 70s, and she'll bring it up sometimes. So,
Yeah.
um, so if I can just go back a little bit to when I hit into my early 40s, started getting these nightmares, it was just like, whoa, I gotta deal with this, right?
Mm.
So then I finally went and just started to really examine it. I went to some counseling for some help. I wasn't in the counseling like for a whole lot. Sorry, I'm stumbling. But I guess I just started to figure things
Yeah,
out a
yeah,
little bit
yeah.
better on my own, right? And how to deal with it. But let me tell you, it affects everything. Like it
Of
affected.
course.
I never figured out a job. I bounced around in different jobs.
Mm.
More importantly than that, I think it affected my relationships.
Yeah.
like from in my late teens, early 20s, not trying to talk like I'm some stud, but I just went from, relationship to
Yeah,
relationship or
yeah,
quick
yeah.
relationships because I couldn't commit. And then when I got married the first time, um, I didn't want to have kids at first
Mm, mm,
because I knew I would never carry on that cycle, but I was also
mm.
scared that I might, right? So I was really nervous to have kids.
Yeah. And I
But
guess,
then what
sorry
did,
to, yeah, and sorry to
okay, go ahead.
this like to interrupt, but I guess like on a deeper subconscious level,
Mhm.
because you knew no one else knew, it's like, what about if I miss it with my kids?
Mhm.
You know, because like I don't
Right.
think we do think, but it's kind of like, no, but it happened to me. So how can I
Yeah.
ensure that I can make sure my kids are going to be safe? Because
Yeah.
again, like,
Yeah.
your mum never knew that either. Um,
Yeah.
so first of all, I just really want to honor you for getting married and having kids because that might be like, well, why would you say that? But I know, not to go into things about me, but I know even to this point now, and I only really identified it probably 2, 3 years ago, that anything again, anything, I would be in my job, but I would be in a
Yeah.
country, but the moment, and I really recognized this recently, the moment the commitment came, I didn't know I was doing this, I sabotaged.
Yeah.
And, it'd be like,
Yeah.
no, I want to go and see another
But
country. Oh no, this is getting boring now. Oh no, I don't want extra commitment. Or actually, no,
yeah.
I don't like this about this person. And it was never anything about the person. I created that because I wanted to run from it. But I didn't know this.
Mhm.
I
That's
didn't
what
know
we
this.
do.
And
Yeah.
that's the
Yeah.
thing which I really honor you for saying is, first of all, you had something that you feel like you couldn't voice, and second of all, you didn't even know why you were doing what you were doing. And like,
Exactly.
can you imagine like how many people are going to be watching this now and feel like, just even if you take a moment today and just be like, why do I do that? Why does that always come up in my life? Because I tell you, it takes such a strong, courageous person to sit with themselves and actually unpick everything and actually, and it's not doing this, but it kind of is, and saying, okay, what am I going to do about it now? Because at the
Right.
at the
Yeah.
end of the day, we can't take responsibility for how someone else behaves and someone else has done what they've done. Of course, it doesn't mean that we just forgive and all this. It's not about that, but we need to forgive
Sure.
ourselves and we need to say, okay, do you know
Yeah.
what? This point now is where I'm at. What am I going to do for me to change it? And I think that's
Yeah.
why, first of all, I respect you so much for going into work that of something that was, very, very intense for you. And then to be able to now be like, but I'm going to help other people. That is truly admirable because I know a lot of people would have done work on them and focused on them, and they would not even go anywhere near because you're almost constantly in helping others. You're bringing that to the surface each time for yourself.
You're bringing it back up. Yeah. Yeah.
So, wow.
I thought,
First of all, I
yeah, it's a
really want
great
to
point.
celebrate you for that. Like,
Well, thank
wow,
you so
you're
much.
truly inspirational. Thank you so much.
Thank
Um,
you. I haven't always felt that way, so that's it's very kind of you to say.
Good. Well, I'm glad
Um,
I'm saying it because you need to know that.
yeah, because if we don't start to heal and have some self-compassion for ourselves, then we're just going to continue to be people pleasers.
Mm,
You're gonna struggle to set boundaries. You're gonna struggle in, like we've already mentioned, in your personal
yeah.
relationships, maybe your career, and once again, that's kind of you to say. And I've always felt like I've had a higher calling, not to get like religious or anything like that, but just like I'm not meant just to go work in
Yeah.
that sales job, nine to
No,
five.
I
you
agree.
know.
I agree.
I've always felt like I need to help people in some capacity because when I started as a life coach, I just started, okay, I'm going to be a life coach. I'm going to help people move forward who are stuck. That didn't work very well. And then I'm like, okay, I'm just going to help men ages 25 to 55,
Yeah.
speak their voice. Had a little bit of traction, but that didn't really help. And then I'm just like, damn, it's an emotional topic, but I think my niche has to be from what I've lived,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And what you're saying, some might find that hard to always bring that up. And I have moments. I'm a human. But it almost helps heal me too,
Yes, yes,
knowing
yes.
that I have this person or that person or that, that have gone through similar struggles,
Yeah.
So
And
it's really almost
yeah.
like rewarding to me that we can talk and I'm not alone. And that's the
Yeah.
big thing.
Yeah.
I have
Yeah.
I have my mom, but not everybody has. Some people have nobody, right? They
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
nobody that they feel that they can talk to. So hopefully myself and others that do this can help help them find their voice, right?
Absolutely. And even with that of what you mentioned with your mum, as we know
Excuse
as
me.
well, it isn't always, of course, it was very much you, and like there's no like getting out of how you feel and what happened to you. But as you realize now, which like I'm sure like at the time you're like, but how now this that happened to me, it's now, but now you're thinking of everybody else and how now that's
Yeah,
affecting them, and that in itself is such a huge thing because yeah, absolutely. Your mum, like, you can't even begin to imagine, like, but you don't even think about that because it's something that
yeah.
you just almost are just navigating and dealing with, like what you said, going and smacking that hockey stick and God
Yeah.
knows what else, and just being like, and then
Other players mainly.
yeah, exactly. Oops, sorry. And then, and then all of a sudden we've got these different, archetypes and
Yeah,
versions that we really aren't. And deep down, we're just this lovable person with some rage inside us.
yeah,
And I think this is why this is super important because um particularly when I was in education and I you can't make judgments, you can't do anything like that. But when I
no.
really used to see a child like really with rage, really acting out, I'd be like, but
Mhm.
why? Not, oh, this is, this child is just this, that. No, why? There is a reason. And even the opposite of super quiet or it could be like not going to the toilet in time. There's so many different things, and
Yep.
we just need to,
Yep.
not always, but we have to just be really conscious and be like, but why? Why? Even a stutter, why?
Mhm.
There's something well, I just think we need to just be really more mindful and compassionate, and so I really, really admire you and all that you've shared
Well,
so
I just
far.
like to, if I can jump in, I just like to acknowledge you for noticing those signs too, right? That maybe not every other teacher would notice that. So
Thank
that
you.
shows you the heart that you have as well and noticing those things. So good on you.
Because that's the other thing is like, it's almost like the child not knowing, but being like, where is
Mhm.
safe? Is anywhere safe? Because
Exactly.
you as a child don't know, but you just think, nobody cares, nobody is helping me, but no one knows, but you
Yeah.
don't know, you don't have that capacity as a child. And I think that's why
No,
like,
I didn't exactly.
yeah.
I didn't feel confident to even go to one of my favorite teachers back in the day, right?
And then
Hey, say this is
yeah.
happening.
But then
So
can
it
you
sucks because
imagine? Yeah, and then can you imagine like then it's like, well, I can't say to you, can you imagine? But I mean like it's just like where is safe, And
yeah.
so anyway, I really thank you so much. And So how, because I'm guessing you experience people at very different points as well.
Yeah.
How do you now take that pain and really fuel it? And in,
So
because this is the tricky
yes.
part, isn't it? Yeah.
So a lot of my work isn't necessarily with the trauma per se. I do touch on that because that's all part of someone's journey, right?
Yeah.
A lot of my focus right now is helping people deal with toxic parents because when I went through some of that counseling regarding my stepmother, um, ironically, at that point she had passed away, um, but it shifted to my dad,
Mm.
right? And why didn't my dad hear me? And I don't feel comfortable to this day talking to my dad in any kind of a normal conversation because he's like so set in his ways,
Mm.
right? So just I didn't have that strength like we were just talking about to talk to a teacher or my mom or even to go to my dad who was living there. He worked a lot. He didn't see any of it, but how could he
Mm.
not see some
Yeah.
shit, you know?
Yeah.
So excuse my language,
No,
but
no, it's
it's
all
like
good.
so I was just a little bit baffled when I was in counseling because it came back to my dad, right?
Mm.
And that's a form of um, toxic, like
Mm.
just how he is, right? Because he never dealt with his stuff when he was
Well,
a kid.
that's what I
He
was
wasn't
just,
abused, but he had
yeah,
different
yeah.
parents and whatever. So I my coaching and the course I created, it's helping people through that. It's helping the discover what a toxic parent actually is, and but most know. And then it's about setting boundaries and then getting into self care. So sorry I
Mm.
veered off of your question.
No, not
Um,
at all. No, not at all.
there's a lot of trauma that can come along with that
Yeah.
I touch on, right? But as a coach, I don't go super deep as similar as what a counselor would. But there's definitely so much lines and
Yeah.
crossover there that usually I can help people through their stuff. So
But I think I admire you for that because that's energetic boundaries as well. And that's,
mhm.
regardless of your background and even identifying things, like sometimes, obviously it's very different when it's something like that. But what I've really learned to do, particularly as a coach, because I think often when we are a coach, it's something just within us, is
Yeah,
actually learn not everybody wants your advice, Shelley. Not everybody wants the answer that you
yeah,
think is the answer. And I think this is
yeah,
super important. And yeah, like I think I used to just see beyond and be like, oh, well,
yeah,
and it's like, no, no, no one
yeah,
asked you for that. And that's where I think that's the difference between a coach. A mentor is actually usually they approach you and you create a safe container and you have that intention and
exactly,
purpose. Um, and
exactly.
I wasn't understanding that, and it was just overpouring and flowing into my life. And it's like we
Mhm.
think we're doing the right thing by giving advice. No, no,
Yeah.
we are.
Well, it's your instinct to want to fix, right? Want to
Yeah,
help the
but
person
people
and
might not
fix.
want to be fixed. And it's like,
Yeah,
who are we
exactly.
to also define something in their life as needing fixed? Because
Yeah,
they might like to function in certain ways, and that's something that
yeah,
maybe they find passion in or something. And also then we're almost coming from a savior perspective of like,
mhm,
there's something wrong with them, and actually
mhm.
who are we to judge another, and the same as with us,
Exactly.
because then that's almost like, oh, my life, well, someone could look at my life and be like, I wouldn't want to live the way she lives. you know So I
Yeah,
think this is
exactly.
super important. What you've identified is, yeah, and like, even in that, like, obviously we're going to put up everything for people to contact you as a coach and a mentor, but
Mhm.
actually, when we are even, this is advice for even people that associate as a coach or a mentor,
Yeah.
that is an aspect of you, and we need to be really mindful of that. Um,
Absolutely. So well said. Because when I first got into it, that's what I thought too, right? People want advice, they want to be fixed per se. But then as I go through it and learn a little bit better, like 75% of my coaching sessions are my client expressing themselves, me
yeah,
listening, because a lot of us don't have that safe space to
yeah,
be listened to,
yeah,
like I believe you mentioned, right?
yeah.
And it's quite amazing to see that the transformation. At first, I felt guilty for charging because like I'm not saying that much, right? I feel like I should be,
Yeah,
hey, you do this, you
yeah,
can get them there. We can all get there, but when they get that oh wow moment, or maybe there's
yeah.
some questions I would say to like kind of bring them out if they're a little hesitant,
Mm.
but no pressure, no judgment. So yeah, it's quite fulfilling for me to see that transformation somebody has, right?
I think that's so important what you've just said, because that was the kind of breakthrough I had of like um there's listening to answer and there's listening to be present.
Yeah,
And I
exactly.
realized I was almost like, obviously I wasn't, but I was almost like, okay, okay, connecting the dots,
Yeah,
doing this. And I'm like,
yeah,
I wasn't listening, because
yeah.
actually I'm there going ahead like, oh, okay, yeah, I see that. Oh, yeah, yeah. No, no. And
Yeah.
that's why, like what you said, you almost then, because we feel like this almost like we have to be doing something. No, no, no. In
Hmm.
you being a safe pillar and allowing someone to just almost just blurt it out
Yeah.
is
Exactly.
allowing them and giving them the power to actually work
Exactly.
it out themselves in the safety, because otherwise it remains in here and it goes like this and it goes like this, and it's like, oh, I can't speak to that person because she might tell that person I can't speak to that person.
Yeah.
That is why people come to say a coach or something, whether we know it or not, because sometimes we just have to go oh,
Yeah.
because it's in
Yeah. You have to
here.
hear it yourself.
Yeah, and there's
Exactly.
something about writing it down as well, which just doesn't feel nice, you know?
Yeah.
Like who wants to keep something of like memories, and yeah, we can rip it up in that. But I think this is a really powerful thing that you've said about the role of a coach. Um, and almost probably like what you said, you've been doing it your whole life, not paid. So then because you're
Yeah.
continuing, you're kind of like, should I be taking this money? Yes. And that's why I'm
Yeah.
saying that there's like, oh, a qualification now. Well, I can't do that because I was doing that my whole life. No, that is exactly
Yeah.
what you should be doing. So I appreciate
Exactly.
that so much. Thank you.
No,
Um,
thank you. You've said this all very well.
oh, thank you. So yeah, I feel like lots of the things I was really intrigued about, just kind of I'm guessing, come out in your sessions anyway. So it's just, really, really being present and listening to those patterns to, and just identifying things. So just with that, because it's always nice for people to take something that they can apply now into their life. How would you, or do you have any strategies, any tools that someone could take right now, today, and just feel like they're connecting more with their personal power?
Sure. There's a couple of things. If they're dealing with a difficult parent or person, and they've never felt comfortable or been able to set that boundary, setting that boundary is not for the other person.
Hmm.
Setting that boundary is for your own self.
Yeah.
So it's like drawing that line in the sand. You're only going to cross that line if I allow you to cross that line. And it
Mm.
doesn't have to be like a nasty, thing. It's just setting that boundary. It helps you, as you know, regain your power,
Yeah.
your confidence, right? Because my confidence just got. It took me forever to
Yeah.
fix my confidence. through sport, I got confidence that way. And then just as I got older, I started going to the gym. But I really had to work on my self-confidence, right? Because
Mm,
somebody's beating you down or somebody's not listening to you. Maybe it's not an abuse situation, but somebody's not, really hearing you, I
yeah.
guess. So back to your question, boundary would be the first thing. And then what I may have just mentioned as well is self-care,
Oh
right?
yeah.
Like whatever that is for you, if
Yeah.
that's journaling, if that's going to a yoga class, going to the gym, it's just getting something out physically, but just like self-care is so important. And that's actually part of module 3 of my course. I have a whole section on self-care, because it's so important because
Yeah.
it's so easy also to, I've always found it so much easier to help somebody else, right? Or be there for somebody
Mm-hmm.
else. But we tend to not do that for
Yeah.
ourselves.
Yeah. I hear
Why
you.
not? Why is it so easier to help somebody
Yeah.
else than not yourself, right? And it's not, and some people, oh, well, I'm being selfish if I do that and all
But
that.
it's all
Well, if you don't do
programming. It's
that,
all
yeah,
programming. It's like even
yeah,
as you, not going into genders, but you standing there as a male and saying, well, sitting, not standing, but being there as a male and saying self-care, there's almost like this feminine energy or quality to,
yeah,
no, we need to really like, we need to change this. We need to really
yeah.
stop this because this is why, particularly, you know, males, not as much now, because hopefully it's really feeding down now. The more men like you
Mhm.
that are, owning your truth and you're speaking out and you're still coming from, a very empowered way, but then talking about these things because. It's almost like sometimes I feel like the pressure is so much harder on a male sometimes because it's kind of like you have to be like the big man, and then you also have to, oh,
Mhm.
don't show too much weakness, and then this and then and it's like,
Mhm.
and then it's like, oh, do I open the door? Oh no, don't open the door. Oh, she thinks this, and it's like, I was speaking to
We
a guy about
we
this
we don't
recently. I
we,
said,
we don't know
how
what
do you
yeah,
navigate?
we don't know what we're supposed to do anymore. And oh my God,
Yeah,
thank you so
yeah.
much. It's like you're reading my
So
mind today, Shel.
I think that goes straight back to boundaries and self-care because you know what? I am not in a conditional way. I'm gonna just honor me. I'm gonna
Yeah.
honor me, and in me honoring you, me honoring you, me honoring me, that filters actually what is not aligned with me. And that's not again about me. Like, I think so many of us, when we really get that inner power and that inner strength, and then these friendships start to collapse, things just start to change. I think we often see this as like a negative, like, oh, I'm not liked, I'm not this. No, no, you are aligning. You are aligning now because in you owning you, you attract then what you're worthy of and you're deserving of. And again, it's not now saying, oh,
Exactly.
these people. No, these people are living the lives they want to live, and they are now going to
Yeah.
align and attract who they want. And so I think, it shouldn't be us and them, him and her. Like, it's just, this is me. Okay, I might like to open doors for women. If you're going to walk through and tut and slut and be like, I can get my own door, then that's on that person. But you
That's on
stay
that
with
person.
you. You
Exactly.
own you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I really, 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 really appreciate this conversation we're having. It's super important.
Yeah, that's so well said.
Um,
Because what you said about, if I may, what you
of
said
course.
about being tough, right? I remember being at my grandfather's funeral when I was 11 years old, and my uncle's like, "Okay, we don't cry, right? Boys don't cry, men don't
Oh
cry."
my
I didn't really
gosh.
cry, or if I did cry, it was always like in private. I still kind of do that in private, but um, yeah. So it's about, you got to be tough. You can't express yourself. So part of that was my upbringing too, right? Where I couldn't express myself about
It's,
the crap I was going
yeah.
through, right? So, and it doesn't make us weak as men. It actually makes us much stronger
Yes.
if we are
Yes.
able to be okay and express
Yes.
ourselves, right? I don't believe in like breaking down and crying every day, because then that's gets into
No,
depression.
there's balance, but even as
Um,
a female, like imagine I'm
yeah,
just all the time, like no one's gonna want to
yeah,
be around me. They're gonna be like, for goodness sake, woman, get a grip.
yeah,
So it's the
yeah,
same both ways, I think. So
yeah,
and even in that what you just shared about your uncle, I think that's super important because then it's not like, oh, he was only performing at the mindset and the capacity and probably what he was taught, and that's why this is
yeah.
super
It's that
super
generational
super.
stuff again,
Yeah,
right?
and we don't
Yeah.
even need to have, which you talk about, healing
Mhm.
generational trauma. And I think this is why it's super important. Like, it doesn't even need to be a conversation. It's like, oh, dad's showing his emotions. I can show my
Yeah,
emotions. Like, it doesn't have
yeah,
to be like, oh, this is what happened. Like, but imagine that you've just had this news about, God bless you, your granddad, and then it's like you're now all of a sudden like, oh yeah, must not cry, must not cry. You're not even present now.
yeah.
You're not even there. You're not even.
Exactly.
You're
And
just like, oh
that was
yeah,
my
don't
first,
cry.
yeah, that was my first funeral at 11 years old.
Suppressing,
Not really
suppressing.
understanding life, death, what's happening. Looks like he's sleeping in the coffin, like, you know.
Yeah.
And then to this day, I can't remember a funeral, even if there's been somebody close, that I've actually broken down and cried at the funeral to this
Mm.
day. I come home, I may lose it when I come home
Yeah.
or have a moment the next day. But yeah, to this day, I
It's yeah.
it's
It all
it's
needs to
embedded, right? It's
change.
not, like I know it's okay now. It's okay now, but it's crazy. Yeah, it's about breaking those cycles, right?
Absolutely. And you know what? It's actually in that, regardless of what everyone thinks around us, but it's in that actual being the leader, the first person, gives permission to other people. And that to me is not vulnerable. That is courageous. And so I think this whole like macho and suppressing and, actually it's more courageous, I feel, to really own you and your emotions and be like, this is how I'm feeling. I think that's more courageous, to be honest. So I
And
appreciate
that's awesome having
all
a
you
woman's
sharing.
perspective on that as well. So I can just say that I
So welcome.
ditto, I agree.
You're so welcome. And I think that's why these conversations are super important. There's so much that I could still talk to you about. I know it's been already such a transformational conversation, so I don't want to take up too much more of your time or your information, which I know so many people are going to reach out to you. Just hearing your story and how you're living your life now, and even how you're speaking. That you don't need to sell yourself. That speaks volumes of you, and someone
Oh,
who aligns
thank
with
you.
that will want to contact you. But something that I just love to ask my guests before they go is just whatever you want to call
Sure.
it, intuition off the top of your head, whatever. Let's remove these labels and just flow.
Yeah.
Um, if there was something right now that you feel someone watching would really, really need to know or hear in this moment, what would you tell them?
It's got to be you're not alone. You know, I know we
Mm,
all feel at times that we are alone. We can't talk to anybody. You're not alone.
yeah.
There are others that have gone through what's similar to what you are going through, what you have gone through, and
Hmm.
that there is help. There is help out there. And I'm prime example. I've been through this, what we talked about today. I didn't start to heal myself till I was in my mid 40s, late 30s to mid 40s, and now I'm 50 something. I'll tell you.
And
So
glowing.
two things. You're never alone. You're not alone, and it's never too late. It's
Yes.
never too late to heal and start empowering yourself and live the life that you've always should have lived.
Amazing. And I think that's super important what you said first, because I love that you said empowering yourself. Because in order for us to outsource we have to fill this up first. And I don't care what anyone says, all this program is of selfish. I remember once I've
Oh,
said this before in a video of, she's so full of herself. Well, what else should I be full of? I'm supposed to be full
beautiful.
of me to the brim, of my
Yeah.
mindset, of my empowerment, because in me being able to fill myself so to the full, and not in like, oh, like
No,
empowering. How on earth can I empower another person when, say, I don't even like myself, and I can't even speak
exactly.
that intimately to myself? So
Yeah.
thank
It's
you, thank you
beautiful.
so
Beautifully
much.
said. Thank
And
you.
yeah, keep filling that vessel and just outpouring. And I trust and believe as well. And I love that you said about timing. Let's get rid of all this as well, this ageism and timing.
Yeah.
Everything and every person is exactly where they need to be. And that's the
Mhm.
beauty of it. Just let your life unfold. And you have
Yeah.
no idea of the magic you're going to welcome in. So thank you
Exactly.
so, 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 so much.
Oh, I thank you. This has been an awesome experience and a great pleasure to be here.
You're so welcome. And yeah, just keep empowering and keep going. You're incredible.
Thank you.